Hopefully that works for some of you or all of you, ideally. And yeah, so did anyone have a chance to look at any of these grants databases? And did you have any feedback on your experience? Well, it's okay if there is no feedback. And I hope I'm still audible. But yeah, I kind of had been generating a couple of sources for myself, and I've noted that a lot of these databases that involve filters, and that would be these like Speak Art or Res Artist or Trans Artist, they might have a lot of features in their database, the ability to filter by art form. But I've also noticed that some of these sites involve a paid listing, and that in turn also potentially leads to an application fee. Now, for me personally, I have not found value in applying for things with an application fee as of yet. I think it's just um, accessibility wise, I wasn't sure what my plan was with grant writing when I first started it. So the concept of investing just for the opportunity to apply to something feels a little strange. And those application fees can be, some of them are really nominal, and you do see that they may be trying to avoid mass application situation where a real live human at an art institute has to go through hundreds of applications, and then there might not be the logistical means to do that. And so I have seen pros and cons to a lot of these larger databases where a lot of people post things. But I've noticed that for me personally, uh, right now, the best is um, things that don't involve an application fee, things that are globally accessible, because I wasn't always sure where I would be living for a long or extended period of time. And today that's changed for me. So that kind of like brings us into today's activity, which if you haven't been here for the previous sessions, we essentially just talked about, hey, what kind of art forms define our past? What have we done? What do we have experience in? What are we currently doing? And then last week we talked about, hey, in the next 5 years or a specific longer time frame, what would we like to be doing? And that, though, answering those questions, you can do that in this 30-minute session that we have right now for this exercise. But that will help you make a short list. So the first thing we're going to do is I would like uh, us to look at those resources and do a bit of a pass. What I do when I'm making a short list of potential grants of interest is I'll do a series of passes, actually. So the first time I'm looking at one of these intense grant databases, I might just be checking my eligibility and checking whether or not there's an application fee. Those types of things are deal breakers. So if there's an application fee, I've set for myself that I don't really want to investigate whether or not this is a great opportunity and invest all the time and actual money in applying for these. Now, the other reason why I don't know about application fees, which I've also kind of hinted at, is that I've seen it potentially look as though the application fee covers the prize at the end of this. And this is often in photography competitions. So I don't know. I'm just a total newbie in that realm. So those are my deal breakers. And within a minute of viewing a grant or an opportunity, I just can say, hey, yes, or no, this is only available for people in um, Latvia. So I'm not in Latvia. I don't have any personal ties to Latvia. Even if the theme spoke out to me, or I really liked the poster that I saw and that had an eye-catching feature, I'm not eligible, so I'm moving on. In the next 5 minutes, then I'm answering those questions that you may have notes about what your future goals are. And then I also look in that next 5 minutes, I'm like, how hard is this application? Do they want lots of resources or things that I'm gonna have to like coordinate? I notice oftentimes when I need a reference, that is a time that I don't end up applying for things. Now, I have people who would vouch for me, but the concept that they might need to be able to speak to certain opportunities and the breadth of what I'm applying for makes me uncomfortable to potentially get them. But this is a good session for me to be like, huh, maybe I do have those resources. But things like an artist bio, statement, and CV, those are like things I keep on the ready. And I also have tried to make a couple of versions of these as I've expanded into different art forms. So maybe like Julian has mentioned, they're really into photography in terms of their past, and their current work is veering into, hey, how does the digital connect with some photographs that I've already taken? Now that is a brilliant like transition or like addition to your all work that already exists. And you may have an artist bio, a statement, and CV that reflects that history. Now all you may need to do in your artist statement is add your future plans that you've already kind of spent some time fleshing out. So thank you, Julian, for being so open with your story. And then finally, once you're done like a 6 minute kind of thing, and these are all phases, right? So this first pass is just eligibility. We'll give ourselves maybe, I'd say like 10 minutes. You might find 2 or 3 grants that could work. And I'm gonna give us some direction to help us move a bit in terms of sorry, my screen is going blank or whatever. I hope it's not going blank for you guys when that happens. Anyways, so yeah, like pass 1 is just eligibility and your personal deal breakers. Pass 2 we're going to get to, and then in this coming week, that's your pass 3, and that's where you're allocating time for that grant writing. You get to make a list of what needs to be done. If there is something like that is not up to snuff or is not ready in your opinion, that's the time you're allocating for that. And that's in a third pass where you're not looking at the grants necessarily or the opportunities. But yeah, that's a bit. We'll get to my personal tips and tools after we kind of try this. So to start, I do hope that folks have been able to get to this resources section. So just to reiterate, we're just here under resources. Now, I found these three to be really interesting for me. And when I was thinking about things from a conflux perspective, as this grant writing series has continued, I've felt maybe this isn't ideal, but I will say um, the heading here kind of tells you stuff about it. So global and virtual. That's why I really liked these. I thought it was an accessible opportunity, but the art form might not fit. So that will come up in your 1 minute test. So starting with these, go through, check them out. Don't check this digital collaboration fund. I need to delete that or put it in the grants databases section. But these links, take a look at them. Note that something like May 31st might not be a doable deadline for yourself, especially if you didn't anticipate grant writing for a couple hours in the next 48 hours. So keep those things in mind. Those could be reasons why you don't even click. But yeah, what do you think? Do we all feel like, hold on, can I see? Oh, um, I'm, hang on. I don't know if you guys can still see my screen. Can I hear from anyone? Wambui? Or, oh, I see other folks joining in. Okay, you can see my screen. So, what we're going to do now is we are going to take some time. Please take a look at resources. I've dropped it in the chat, the Getting Grants thread here. And I can tag folks if that's good or, yeah. Any questions also? All right, well then, go for it. I'll give us about, it's 10:15 now for me, or 15. And we'll go until 25. And these are again that first pass. So am I eligible? Is this art form aligned to my own art form, or is this potentially something that I'm headed towards? Those kinds of questions, which are just kind of yes or no and really quick before we're even necessarily reading what the opportunity is.
Hey, Raia, we
Still there, and you're going to navigate to resources. But Maria, have you been able to access the website at all today? Yeah, that's perfect. So I'm not too sure. I can't. Oh, there's your stream. Sorry. This is okay. So when you click the at Whamsy link,
yeah, like this is what happens.
oh, I can't see. It's sharing your Discord screen only, I think. I'm not seeing your browser.
What? Okay. Yeah. Mm.
Hmm. Oh, thanks, Wasted Management. I can see now the link is working for you. Okay, that's cool. Well, if you're not having any issues, feel free to turn us down. There's mute options in Discord, and you can go do that first pass while we troubleshoot here. Yeah. Okay. Resources tab, like we've been. Uh, and I have some thoughts now looking at this list again. But does anyone want to share some of their short list from a first pass? Uh, it's been good to refresh my memory on what these opportunities are. And I've felt that they could connect with some of you, but I'm curious to hear uh, what that first pass was like.
Yeah, it's been very nice going through them. Thank you for compiling this so we can see what opportunities are available. So it has been interesting. Like, my name is Maya. I didn't attend last week, but I was here the first week. And I'm a manager. I work with different, mostly musicians, but also some artists who are very multi-talented in different mediums. Um, Yeah, so it was very interesting to go through, and also, yeah, based off of what you had, just like things that were deal breakers for you, like having to have a reference or having to pay a fee, and then some of the just like seeing like one of them, it makes you make like this whole account on this website. It makes it very complicated. It's just like it had me being reflective, like what kind of things usually deter me from doing a grant, besides the things you had mentioned. And then yeah, looking into them, I was really interested in the sound art lab. And also the Airy residency in the Everglades.
Right.
Yeah, and then I was there were a few that I was kind of okay, this is a maybe, and then yeah, I hadn't gone to the last couple yet. But yeah, it's a nice process going through everything and kind of taking a step back before just starting to fill the application and really thinking about am I being intentional with choosing to apply for this?
Brilliant. Thank you for really yeah, giving that feedback too, because and Maya, I did have some notes about your art practice from that first week. So it's great to see you back again. And this has all been designed, like this website will stay up. I'll probably get better about the links not being 17 un illegible characters in a row. It'll be something nice. But thank you for putting the time into doing this first pass. This is how I intended. Does anyone else want to share what that first pass has been like for you? and I can also share. So sometimes when I make a list or do this first pass, I get really excited. And I think that's like a good thing, but it's also a not realistic thing. I have been now coming back to this grant database or resource list, and checking in with myself. So the first thing that I've noticed is in my own personal life, there's been a lot of flux with travel, just trying to get my family. They'd like to be back in Canada, and a lot of things related to the pandemic have been preventing that. And I just noticed it was totally blocking my ability to even look at the global slash in person required travel. In the same breath, I had received word that an opportunity I had applied for back when I was in a place to apply for things and could be intentional, had accepted me, but would require full vaccination before August. And Canada is working on a plan where folks like myself will get fully vaccinated by September. So again, that ended up being, even after all the application, thinking about it, visualizing it, it's just not feasible. So I think I've been really apprehensive to even looking at this section that requires travel. And I've just been letting those opportunities kind of go. I'll tell you this much. I looked at Maya to connect with you. I didn't get all the way down to Sound Art Lab, but again, I recently looked into it and it's in Denmark as well. I think Denmark, because I've been aware of this opportunity happening in August, this Sound Art Lab is also asking to potentially start in late August or early September. Now, because it's a smaller, like a residency where I think they're only looking for a few artists, and each residency is self-directed on some level. I do believe there's like not specified dates. So that is one thing about all of these second column. I don't know how you're viewing it. If you're on a desktop, it would be the second column. If you're here on a mobile, it's the second section. And I have the ones that were interesting to me highlighted in purple. And that was in my first pass. Now, in my second pass, so this is my second first pass, if you will, because I've only given myself a minute. I have noticed that I know that Sound Art Lab sounds really cool, and I'd love to share notes and stuff or whatever it is, motivate each other to apply. But then I also noticed that some of these other ones that I had been interested. Which one is this one? Or let's start with the Airy Everglades. That one sounds really interesting too, and it's due in like a couple days. So if I was getting back into the groove, I might consider it. However, then I actually clicked through to apply now, and it does have a $10 entry fee. Now, $10 is like minimal, but then you also get into like international payment schemes. I believe this is in the US. I even like I know that sometimes they take PayPal or whatever, but just payment ends up being another potential barrier. But I would say that something in the $10 range, if it's very interesting to you or like to me, it just has never happened yet. There's just so many opportunities where it doesn't require giving out my personal banking information or giving giving money to apply to something feels a little strange, but it really depends on the opportunity and it also depends on you. So I said that that was a deal breaker for me. I just want to clarify that you're going to self-identify what deal breakers are for you. And I guess like my background is, hey, I am an independent creator. And so I don't know yet if I'm going to allocate those kinds of funds to that. But that was just something I noted about the AIRI. in case anyone was scoping that out. And then this Kunstler. There's the Kunstler House on June 5th. And I liked it because, yeah, again, it's kind of aligned to some things that I maybe want to get into. However, I just noted that they want you to physically mail them during a pandemic and potentially so this I think is one of those barriers put in place where they are trying to find people local or proximate to um Kunstler House, maybe. But also if you can send the oh wait, no, it says or by email. So see, look, like sometimes you could do this to yourself and you can get excited for no reason. But I was also troubleshooting. Don't blame me. Don't at me or at me. It's fine. Uh, so yeah, that was a first pass. Now in the second pass, and I guess that's a point I want to make about the first pass is that you're saying, hey, like I also have some requirements. Now I want you to go again, and maybe you've already kind of done this by, just by the act of clicking through, but I do want you to see, does the grant align to my future goals, and do I have resources right now in order to apply to the grant? That's something that I've noticed that as I apply for more and more grants, I keep copies just on Google Drive of what I apply to. I've tried a couple different strategies of keeping track, but I noticed just dumping them all, not with huge amounts of formatting, into one Google Drive document. Then I can control F and plagiarize myself. It's fine, especially if themes align and things like that. There have been certain grants or like projects that I have in mind that I see align to themes that I see across organizations. And in those situations, I do sometimes Mad Lib my proposal and adapt it to the current opportunity. But when you're first starting out, it might be that, hey, you look at it and you're like, I might not have all of these resources up to date, but I have versions of them. And yeah, so that's your next now that you have a short list, we're gonna spend another 10 minutes. Start making like let's start answering those questions. Does this align to those future goals or future forms that I saw for myself? If yes, do I also have resources or can I get those resources? And then I guess the point Z here is, hey, now in this coming week, we're applying, baby. So allocate some time. It may be that you're not actually applying. It may be that you're collecting your resources at this point. And I do encourage people, like, if you at me on Discord, I get a ping. And I have this thing where like I can't not answer. So like especially for mellow like friends who are trying things and like just want a little bit of feedback. I love reading paragraphs and stuff. So do feel free in this next week to drop me a DM if you're not comfortable posting questions like to the masses of currents. But I think currents is a very friendly scenario, like scene. So do feel free to also share your questions and your stories. But yeah, that's the second pass. Sorry if that hurt your ears. And, we're gonna do now a little more in depth. You have a short list. You might have two, you might have three from that resources. Dig a bit deeper. Align yourself, align your practice. Maybe think of a project idea and write that down. And then we'll get into a bit more. But yeah, I'll do the same. We'll reconvene at 10, or not, sorry, not 10. It would be 8:53 East Africa time. And yeah, any questions? Cool. Well then, up to.
Hello, yes? You asked something, Monra? Oh, all right. Oh, okay. Sawa sawa. I thought that she said that we look at some the notes that highlighted. Rare,
Mondria,
but
are
you
you
got
taking notes or what's happening on your end? I know the Acacia Collective they're all busy bees over there. I don't know about you, slacker. I'm just kidding. I'm totally playing. Thank you so much for helping coordinate this. All right, about another minute to just wrap up thought. And then we'll get back into a bit of discussion. Mm, all right. So I am sharing my screen again, and I want to hear from folks. After taking a look at your initial shortlist, how do those grants align to your future goals? And do you have resources? Um, and did that change how you viewed this opportunity? Are you excited, more excited, or like not? Like you're like, actually, now that I'm looking at this Z question of allocating time for the writing of this, do I have the capacity to complete it? And what is on that to-do list? And maybe you only got through one grant, by the way, or maybe you only did the 5 minutes. Do I have the resources? Does it align to my future goals? I noticed I wanted to go through a couple more grants. So I ended up going through the first two, and then I did think a little bit about a couple of these other ones, but really it was these first two because they are virtual and they kind of are open to anyone, and a lot of my collaborators are coming from various parts of the world. I can think of just now, by looking at these two situated worlds, and swimming in air, I ended up making a bit of a chart, and just saying what project I thought I was like I'm currently thinking about making, but haven't, or have started it, and I'm like, whoa, this would be perfect. Some extra time and energy and resources to complete it. Some new friends to potentially get feedback from, by doing these, uh, by potentially participating in these. But again, what is that? What does that mean? And so, yeah, that's all I really have. All I have is just what project I think it would work with, and then who I would potentially be collaborating with. And oh, I did do it for the I-beam as well, but I notice sometimes if I don't have a clear-cut deadline, I tend to put that project, I'm like, oh, I need some more time to think about how I would best collaborate with this journalist I have in mind. So anyways, that's a bit about my experience with the second task. Now looking to item Z, in this coming week, do I have time to allocate? And would I want to go forward with it? Well, for starters, I have been a little bit overwhelmed with other things outside of grant writing. I kind of have mentioned that. So I think also looking at the deadlines, I'm okay to take a this week. I should also mention I'm turning 30 on Friday. So like I deserve a week, okay? It's a big deal.
Yes, happy birthday.
So I was like, why am I taking a week off? I kept feeling like I was like lying to you guys, or like I'm really overwhelmed, but really it's just like all of these annoying people are starting to message again and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like living alone in a lockdown, okay? And enjoying it thoroughly. But also, it is a time when I think some fun things can come up. And also it's Pride Month, so my month is more full of gigs than it usually is. So I do think that will affect my grant writing capacity. I can be honest about that. And thank you for the cheers for my birthday. I appreciate it. So yeah, does anyone want to share what the last 10 minutes was? And also we're running over. I apologize. Please at me. At me. Oh, I should stop sharing. Okay. There we go. All right. Anyone? Okay, well, we can also just wrap a little bit of what.
Hello. Raia,
Oh, hello.
we have someone here who wants to share.
Yay! I'm all ears.
My
Just get it up.
Alright.
Get the laptop.
my knee is over here for Shama. I don't need to share the screen.
Oh, you want to share the screen?
No, I thought it. Hi everyone.
Hi, Julia.
So I've gone through a couple of. First of all, I've gone through one of the grants that you shared. I think so, yeah. Yeah. Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you, yes. Can you introduce yourself by name?
Hi, my name is Julian Manjai, or Apinot Manjai.
Oh, okay.
And I was saying I've gone through during this time one of the ones that you had shared in your list, the ones from Kunstler, but also another one I've seen from called the Lucy Foundation, and it resonates with me a lot because it is within my line. It is within photography, and they do allow. It's one of the things I'm looking for is a grant that will allow me to also do a residency. So because then I want to make a connection with my work between home and away. So it does have a fee, but like you're saying, the fee here is $25. But and I'm wondering about this fee business, whether it's not a complete deal breaker, especially if it means that maybe the number of people they have to go through will be fewer. So I'm wondering also about the selection process, whether they get bored at some point and they think, just go through like the first 1,000 and the rest 5,000 can remain without having their work seen. So I wonder whether I think one of the reasons why they put some fees is because of that. And if it's really something like you're saying that is strong within like it resonates with me a lot, then I could sacrifice $25. I will call it investing $25. What I am not able to see so far is whether they cater for the flights and whether they some sort of monies maybe for visas and stuff like that that they need me to sort out. I can't see that, but otherwise I quite like it. And they have a few options for. They say scholarship, grants. I'm mixing those two terms, and because they say the foundation is proud to offer 4 cash grants to support the work of the emerging established photographers, but then the main thing says 2021 Lucy Scholarship Program launching in April 30th. So it looks like they're mixing the terms. But they, what else? Let me see. They do ask for images from an existing project, and they say also if you don't have you started one, then you can upload ones from previous cohesive projects. So I find that pretty fair because the project that I have in mind, I don't have like the images that I want for that project because it does require a grant to be able for me to be able to get the images or the proper images, I would say. So yeah, I like this one. The only other thing is that its location. I've realized this one is in Los Angeles, and so if there's someone in the group who might be interested in that, you can check out Lucy Foundation. For me, I'm looking something towards Germany, closer to home. But yes, this one is a good one, and I also quite like the one I shared, the Kunstler house.
Okay, thank you for that feedback and like your really thorough breakdown of how or why it makes sense for you to invest in an application fee for a grant or an opportunity that really resonates. Now, the next potential, if you're not finding clarity on the website, I'll mention that we're doing this in a bit of a speed kind of way. Now that you're at this stage where you might have a short list, you can slow it down and be like, okay, I'm going to need travel, I'm going to need visa, I'm going to need accommodation. What are they actually saying that they will cover? And then maybe actually an email. They tend to have, do you have questions? And then contact this info at, and I have found that people are pretty responsive to these things. Like it's an actual human being that is associated with the admin of all of these applications, and they often will provide you with answers that you may not be super clear on the website. And that is a thing that oftentimes we're using English as the bridge language or whatever. German folks might be speaking various dialects of German and other languages. And depending on where you're applying, that also rings true. So I think a little proactivity on your end if you're inclined and jazzed for this. It sounds really cool, and I'm really this Lucy Foundation or Lucia Foundation. If you want to drop a link in the Getting Grants section, and I can take a look and see if I see anything. Sometimes they don't use those terms, grants or funding. They might use there's a scholarship or an honorarium or an artist fee or a production budget, and then they specify what you can use those funds for. Oftentimes, I have noticed there's a lot of leeway. Also, but then also there are limitations. So I have seen that someone might say that they cover travel, but then they don't cover the visa. And I actually don't know too much about getting visas because I think the majority of my experiences thus far have been, sorry, there's a global pandemic and no travel is happening. So I've noted that for myself, that Canada has even put a pause on funding travel. So there are other side organizations that could help, but are not allowed to at this time. And that's for understandable reasons. So really great points that you bring up, Julian, and thank you for being sharing all that you have. Does anyone else want to share something, or I'll just wrap up for what we're going to do next time? And I think I've kind of gone through some of my tips, but if anybody really does feel like sharing, by all means, or asking questions, the floor is yours. Okay, otherwise, let me just share my screen again. This final little blurb about my personal tools and tips. We're going to get into this a lot more next week. This is just a little taster. So I do know that I give myself dedicated time for very specific tasks. So there's the search, then there's like an eligibility check, which was like the first half of today. And then there's comparison across opportunities because I notice I can get excited. I'm very susceptible to good advertising, nice graphics, all of that stuff. And oftentimes the guys with some good opportunities, they might be in Japan and the Google Translate is translating everything from Japanese, but they do open the opportunity to international applicants. So even though my bias would be, hey, like, you know, a Google translated version of Japanese is not going to be as hi-fi as something from the Los Angeles County Museum of Modern Art, I might get more out of that experience where it's more of a cultural exchange and I'm not just interacting with North Americans. That's just whatever for me. So yeah, the comparison across opportunities and then that star actually applying, which is where I hope you feel like you could be today. You could also be in a place where you're like, yeah, let me get my resources together this week. And we'll talk about some of those opportunities that are in the database again next week, but you'll have your checklist going. The next thing I do is I apply in cycles. Initially, that in 2021, that was at the end of the month. A lot of deadlines often cut off near the end of the month, so that's also like a reason why I could feel motivated. Or one day a week, a few hours per week, and you just kind of give yourself that as an independent artist. This is part of my professional development. I keep track of successes. I try to acknowledge, like notice, but also immediately move on from rejection. So like I'll read the correspondence. Thank you so much for your application. We regret to inform you. Shut up. I'm just kidding. But then I archive it in my Gmail, and it's something that I can control F and see. Oh yeah, like I got shortlisted for this guy. Maybe I should try again this year. This just being exposed to me and seeing that my ideas were interesting last year. If I edit based on their feedback, maybe I got a shot this year, that kind of thing. And then also keeping note of what success means. But we'll get into that next week. You're free to read the blurb that is there. But other than that, thank you guys for another amazing session. I hope this has been of some value to you, and I hope that even if you feel I don't know if this feels slow for anyone, but my idea behind the website is that it will exist. You can choose what your cycle rate is. Maybe you give yourself like 1 hour every day in a week and see how much of your resources for a specific grant can be developed, and then hang on to those resources. Because like I said, the artist CV, your artist statement, those are like documents that you kind of always have. They might not be perfectly up to May 30th, up to date. That's okay, okay? But if you just continue and like register that it is a cyclical thing, and there's no right and wrong. This is highly subjective stuff, and we'll get into those things as well next week. So yeah. Any questions? Any thoughts? feel free to at me again. You can add questions to getting grants. You can also directly message me.